I would say if there's one thing you don't want to do right now, it's get sick if you're living in Ireland. We know what it's like with the NHS waiting lists up in the north. We know what it's like with the health service in the so-called Republic. It's not great. Heard a lot of scandals over the last week, particularly about operations that have been carried out on children. Left them in a lot of pain. No one's really being held to account for that. Children's Hospital running well behind schedule and well over budget. People waiting on trolleys for a long, long time, dying in hospitals while waiting for treatment. Today it was announced, Michelle ONeill announced, the First Minister for Northern Ireland, or the north of Ireland, has announced that in order to ease some of the burdens on the health service, that she is proposing that people travel to the south to get treatment privately, effectively, and then they can apply to have the costs of that treatment reimbursed. And there's been a lot of backlash to this one, understandably. People are saying, well, for example, if you're living in Dublin and you can't get seen, or you can't get a doctor's appointment, or you're sitting on a trolley in University Hospital in Limerick, and next thing I rock down there from Belfast and say, listen, I've got some cash and I can jump the queue and I can get reimbursed. You're not going to be very happy about that, I would imagine. And what if you don't have the money in the first place? This is not something the government pays for. This is something that you have to stump up for up front. And then they reimburse you back. Maybe. It doesn't give a time scale. They have a certain amount they've set aside for this, so many hundreds of millions of pounds, I believe it is. But again, this is not dealing with the root cause of the problem. That services are under severe stress, under severe pressure. Things aren't getting any better out there. And there's never been a worse time to be sick in Ireland. And if you have tried to get an appointment with a GP or a general practitioner, I think that's what they're calling themselves these days, GPs, general practitioner. What do they practice? But anyway, it's a lottery. You phone up first thing in the morning, 8:30 on the dot, for example, and you'll tell the automatic machine will tell you that you're number 95 in the queue, 94, 93, 92, 91. And when all the appointments are gone for that day, that's it. You don't get seen, you have to try again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, if you're lucky. And then if you do get an appointment, you have to be available for it. You have to jump when they say, or you have to ask how high when they say jump. Otherwise, you don't get the appointment. And of course, this doesn't apply to everybody. Some people are getting preferential health treatment in Ireland. I'm sure you know about it. They're also getting a lot of preferential treatment, for example, when it comes to pensions, or when it comes to accommodation, or when it comes to getting their car serviced, or taxed, or repaired. Doesn't seem to be a shortage of funds in that respect. So anyway, this is the latest proposal from Michelle ONeill, and she's thrown it out there today, Friday afternoon, probably when most people will be finishing up for work and looking forward to getting home, maybe getting their dinner, maybe having a relaxing Friday night. They're probably not going to be scarring to see what Michelle ONeill's been posting. And there's been another scandal as well, almost forgot. Royal Victoria Hospital in Belfast, their cardiac unit has been exposed as a den of toxicity, where there is a war going on for power between some of the senior consultants in there, and they've basically been treating their staff like dirt. Some of them have, for a very, very long time. Physically, or not physically, well, they've been throwing surgical instruments at them, yes, verbally berating them. Terrible toxic culture. Whistleblowers have come forward and spilled the beans on this, and Mike Nesbitt, the so-called health minister for Northern Ireland, says, well, I'm going to do something about it. Will he? What's he going to do? Anyway, he's going to look into it. I'm sure that's reassuring if you're one of the people that have been prepped for an operation and had your surgery cancelled. Or maybe what happens if you wake up in the post-recovery room and there's a surgeon going at it with a nurse, going at it as in throwing implements at each other. That's what I mean by going at it. So anyway, that's the state of play at the moment. And apparently that cardiac unit in Belfast does 1,000 procedures a month, 1,000 procedures a year, which is roughly, 3 a day? So they're getting through people at a right old rate in there. Or are they? Because a lot of stuff has actually been cancelled. So I'm just saying, if you can, keep yourself as healthy as possible at this time. Not to necessarily live to a ripe old age, to just simply avoid having to go to a doctor or try and get to a doctor or try and get a surgical procedure done. Because the response to that video or that statement that ONeill put out was people were saying, well, I've been waiting 7 years for a scan. I've been waiting 7 years to see a gynecologist. I've been waiting 7 years to get an assessment, and I'm still waiting. And I'm deemed as an urgent case. So look after yourselves. And if you've got a few quid as well, it helps. This is going to sound crazy, but think about it before you go spending money on stuff that you don't need. And it's up to you to live your life how you want. Keep a few quid to the side if you have any, because you might need it to get an operation or to get a scan or to have a procedure done that could literally save your life. But you'll have to go to Dublin for it. If you're living in Portadown or Belfast, you'll have to jump across the Irish people down there, skip the queue, flash the cash, and then get reimbursed by Stormont or whoever it is doing the reimbursement. They're being a little bit sketchy with the details on that one. So let me know what you think down below. I'm trying out some new tech here. Got myself a little wireless microphone and a little stick that I can use. You see that? Look at that. I should have been doing this all along, actually. Far better angles and views here. But anyway, I'm a work in progress, folks, just like you. So I'm just learning as I go along. And whatever you're planning for tonight or planning for this weekend, stay safe, stay sane, more importantly, and look after yourselves. Look after yourselves. Of course, share this content if you feel like it. Just simply cut and paste the link, drop it into whatever browser you use, into whatever WhatsApp group you use. If you use social media platforms, feel free to use it and feel free to share it. But for now, I'm Rick Munn. This is No Risk, No Reward Media. Over and out.